Good morning, Westeros!
And welcome
to our
Morning Throners
podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Glow.
And I'm Kyle.
And we're the fucking Morning Throners. Alright, everybody, welcome back to another Morning Throners podcast. We're here on post-Christmas, pre-New Year's. Not sure when it's going to come out. Probably not then, but just know we took the time out of our holidays to give this to you guys, so be grateful.
This is our present to you guys.
The Morning Throners Holiday Special.
Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment or a review as we just blow up famously. You'll be the first one.
That can be your present to us. This is our present to you. A nice little tweet or a DM. Slide into our DMs will be a nice little present from you guys.
And if you like our podcast, you can feel free to donate to our Patreon.
We don't have a Patreon, but if anybody really wants to donate, if anybody really wants to donate to us, we accept Venmo.
Don't Venmo to Nelson. Nobody else will see it.
We have a GoFundMe going right now.
All right, jumping
Save
into
the Morning Throners.
This week's podcast is Eddard 4, fourth Eddard chapter 20 of the book. And disclaimer, in addition to being the holiday special, it's noon. And because of our we're always drinking rule, I got a nice little coffee cup of whiskey in front of me at noon o'clock on post-Christmas Eve.
I like how it's chapter 20 and we're like a quarter of the way into the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also the chapters start getting longer.
I think there's 71 chapters.
Is there?
There's 71 chapters in this book. Yeah.
We're almost a quarter of the way through the book.
All right, Jeff, start us off. We're on Ned 4. Where are we at?
All right, so as we start this chapter, it's Ned coming through the gates of the Red Keep. We kind of find out a little bit later on that after all the bullshit that happened around the Trident and the Neck, the Stark clan kind of moved forward, so he's arriving before the King's party and all their bullshit. And he's just tired and wants to, pretty much go to sleep. And Vane Pool, I think.
Yep.
Is that
Vayon?
That's his
comes
steward.
Vane.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
He's
comes
just kind of the
in.
guy who takes all Ned's commands. Like, he's the guy who's just there when Ned, like, in the dairy chapter, when Ned's like, take the girls, go find the girls, or get Sansa and bring her to the common hall. He's just like the guy that when Ned gives a command, it's that one guy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Vayon on his name.
Yeah, I like Vayon.
But he's like, hey, the small council wants you, and he's like, are you serious, dude? I just got here. Like,
Well, it's actually a different guy. The guy who tells him the small council wants him is one of the King's Landing stewards.
okay.
And he gets called on, and Ned's like tells Vayon again, basically just like go take care of the kids, like take Sansa and.
And I need
to
some
their
fucking
rooms.
clothes.
Give me
Yeah, I'm gonna get changed.
Well, no, he
Go
asked
take care
for
of the
clothes
girls.
from the other guy. Again,
from
from
the other
guy?
from the King's steward, which is why he says like he shows up to the council wearing borrowed clothes and like tired from the road or whatever. Because there's like the King's steward says, Grandmaster Pycelle called this thing. He's like, all right, fine, let me change quick. And he turns to Vayon and is like, hey, take the girls up and don't let them leave the room till I come see him later. And then he comes back to the first guy and is like, all right, I need clothes though, because I don't have anything. Mine, they're still in the wagon. And the guy's like, certainly, my lord, or whatever.
Yeah, you're right. Royal steward, yeah.
Yeah. So he shows up to the council meeting wearing random clothes, which I think the only reason they really pointed out is because when he goes and talks to Renly and Littlefinger, their conversation is like about clothes. So I think that was like why it was tying in. He felt like even more out of place because they're literally like critiquing each other's clothes. But when he first gets there, the first thing he notices is like super fancy room. Like we learned like what Winterfell looked like. There was just like wolf pelts on the bed and like bare stone walls, right? Candles hanging, fireplace. Here there's like fancy Moorish carpets, fancy carvings, like stone like sphinxes or something with like opal
jewels
eyes
and shit. Yeah.
Super gaudy.
Also,
Garnet.
So he says like there's Moorish carpets instead of rushes. Rushes is just like hay, right?
I would assume not. Maybe like animal pelts.
I thought rushes was
I
like
don't know.
hay that you like have on the floor, and when people like walk on it and it gets dirty, you can just like sweep it out and like replace the rushes.
It's like a floor mat.
All right, hold on.
No, it's literally like hay. Like they take hay from the barnyard.
Well, I'm saying it's a floor mat though. Like
No, I don't think so. I think it's literally just like they scatter hay like
throughout the whole room.
throughout the thing, and then like once it gets dirty from like the dirt on your shoes, they just sweep it out and put new hay down. I think that's what it is, but I'm not. I have no.
All right, here we
clue.
go. Here we go.
Yeah, it's
During the Middle Ages, the floors of most churches and dwellings consisted of compacted earth and rushes, commonly sweet flag, or other herbs and grasses were strewn over them to provide a sweet-smelling, renewable covering for insulation.
yeah,
So
you're
like
right,
it smells
Nelson.
like grass and stuff in there, and then once it gets like muddy or whatever, from like if it rains and everybody tracks in mud, now
Yeah.
hay gets
Again.
muddy, you just sweep it out and put down new hay. It's fucking hay.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty, but
Or
better
grass,
smelling.
sweet smelling grasses,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
Perfumed.
It's pretty stupid. It's pretty fucking stupid.
No, it's smart.
Grow up.
Grow up. Just pour concrete floors.
I mean, I can see it for like peasants and
Cargo.
stuff, but like I'm surprised that Ned was like, there was carpets instead of rushes. Like this is the king's freaking council
Yeah.
chamber. You thought there was gonna be rushes in here?
Like,
thought there was
he
gonna be
hasn't-
hay on the floor.
Like he hasn't been there before. Like I'm sure, like the
I mean,
whole
I don't think
castle
he's-
sounds like it's marble and shit. Why
I
would
don't think
there
he's
be?
freaking out about
Yeah, I
it.
mean, I
though.
don't think he was like
floors.
super surprised. I just thought it was like weird. Like,
I think they
I
were
think he's
just
just calling it out,
explaining.
you know.
like, do you
Well,
think like the other chamber, like there's other rooms in the castle
Here's
that
the-
don't have this, that
Well, here's
have
the other
rushes?
thing.
No.
First off, this was the first thing he went into. Second off, here's a question. I guess it goes for every chapter. Is the narrator assumed to be Ned, or is it just kind of like
It's whoever that
Another
chapter is.
person.
No.
It's like a third-person view of.
George
Yeah,
R.
so I mean,
George
like,
R. Martin
maybe
said it's
it's
a
just
close third person where you can see inside one character's head, not everybody's head, but it's not necessarily first person. Like it doesn't say I, right? It all says like Ned or Littlefinger, even if it's a Ned.
Yeah,
chapter.
so I mean, that was in kind of unquoted sections, and it could just be like
narration.
calling attention to that narration of like instead of being as shitty as Ned's castle or as
Yeah,
bare as
I
Ned's
gotcha.
castle.
So that's what I was gonna say. Is like, I don't think it's a surprise that this castle has that. I think it's a not a, and again, not a surprise. It's not like Ned's like holy shit. But just like it's like
Pointing
a
out the
difference
difference.
between Winterfell, right? This is like so different. Not only is it super fancy, but like, I bet you Winterfell has rushes, right? Maybe even in Ned's like bedchamber, there's rushes.
I'm sure Winterfell is full of rushes.
Yeah.
I mean, Catelyn was shitting right next to Bran, so I assume there's gotta be rushes.
She was
around.
probably just shitting on the rushes, and they would just sweep it out and bring in new ones.
No wonder it smelled so bad.
All right, so there's 4 people in the room, and who we got?
We got Maester
Renly.
Pycelle, Renly.
That's Grand Maester to you.
whatever.
And Lord Renly.
Littlefinger and Varys.
Yeah, and the Varys is the first one to say something when Ned comes in. Like there's a little conversation going on with Renly and Littlefinger in the corner, and Maester Pycelle sitting there.
I've got a big Varys quote for later on in this chapter.
Okay.
Oh, ho, ho.
He's dusty.
So right here, when Varys walks in, all that he says is, "Lord Stark, I was so grievous to hear about your troubles in the King's Road. We have all been visiting the Steppe to light candles for Prince Joffrey. I pray for his recovery." His hand left powder stains on Ned's sleeve, and he smelled as foul and sweet as flowers on a grave. "Your gods have heard you," Ned replied, cool yet polite. "The prince grows stronger every day." So this is
I think
Varys.
he's like fuck off, like he's fine.
Like I
Shut
feel
the
like
fuck
Varys
up.
did this with Kat too, right? Like he said something that was like kind of like said in a nice like way, as if he's trying to be a nice guy, but then like what the actual context is clearly not what Ned gives a fuck about, right? Like Ned doesn't give a
Yeah.
shit about Joffrey. He's pissed off about his own children, and Varys has to know that. But yet he's like, "Oh, we're so sorry for Joffrey."
He's
I
putting
feel
on
like
a show
that's-
for the other people, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
was gonna say I feel like they have to care the most about the king's family.
Yeah, I
as
mean,
well, like kind of what Glow is saying.
but,
That is their
but
job.
everybody in there has to know that Varys is like this, right? Like, I mean, this is the second time we've seen Varys, and he's done it both
So
times.
he's the spider,
He's
right?
the spider.
Yeah.
He's the guy
Yes.
who's like, yeah, I think like their we can talk about. They don't actually ever say their titles, but we can say I think he's the
Yeah, they
master
did.
of whispers.
I'm pretty sure they did.
The master of what?
Whispers.
Whispers.
Littlefinger's
yeah, I
the
think they
master of
did mention it.
coin. I actually don't know what Renly is. Master of war, maybe.
Uh,
I think that's what's his name, Stannis.
Stannis, and then Renly might be ships. Master of ships.
Yeah, I thought he was
Normally
master
that's
of
like head
ships.
general and head admiral.
I mean, Admiral.
I think he's master of ships. Maybe they don't. They definitely said that he was the master of like
Whispers.
what's it called? Whispers. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that Ned breaks off that conversation as quick as he can and walks over and wants to say hi to Renly. And what is he like realizing about Renly?
He looks
He-
exactly like Robert.
The young Robert.
A young
Yeah.
Robert.
Yeah, as I say, so
Like-
they were saying he's not fat, right?
Like badass
Yeah.
Robert that
Yeah.
took over the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah. So in
A
the first Ned
well-dressed
chapter,
badass Robert.
yeah, in the first Ned chapter, he said that Ned thinks that when Robert won the war, he was 6'6" and muscled like a maiden's fantasy. And then here they say that Renly looks like Robert did when he won the war. So you have to assume
Yeah,
maybe he's not that tall, maybe he's not like super ripped, but he's like,
he's a poor copy.
yeah, that's what
That
he
was a
says.
funny,
Right?
funny quip.
And then that's when, so that's what Renly says in response, because Ned he doesn't just think this, he actually says it to Renly, and that's what Renly replies with, I'm a poor copy. And Littlefinger like pokes fun at like how like much he cares about his appearance, like, oh yeah, but much better dressed. You spend more than half the ladies in the court. And Renly
There are
just, like,
worse
shoves it off.
crimes.
And yeah, and jabs
Like
back,
how you're dressed.
exactly. So I think this is meant to like point out if you think about Ned's wearing fucking probably
Borrowed
clothes that don't
clothes.
fit him that well right now. Who knows what sigils on it? Definitely not Stark, right? Renly's like head to toe in green and gold. I don't know. I feel like the only reason they put this conversation have to do with clothing in there is to talk about.
No, I think it's Baelish like throwing jives at Renly for being gay.
For gay.
Yeah.
We don't know if
Yeah,
he's gay. in the
spoiler
book.
alert.
He might not even be gay in the books. George R.
That's
R. Martin
true.
has said
Sorry.
it's not like definitive because we don't get point of view.
I mean, honestly,
From
you
him.
think of like a well-dressed guy though. What are you implying? In like real life.
I guess I don't know. We were making fun of Kyle for being dressed like a Twitch streamer today. So like I don't think like making fun of what somebody's wearing like necessarily implies anything. I think it's just depending on the situation.
All right. I don't think Kyle heard me. He might have been frozen.
I heard you say that he was gay. I heard that part.
So we don't actually
Spoilers.
know if he's gay in the books
Yeah.
or not. George just said that, but in the show he's definitely gay.
That was just a show trying to
Break from the books a little.
or just
No,
like,
maybe not. I mean, Jordan-
attract,
You know, but
attract a
yeah.
wider audience.
Well, the thing is, in the books or in the show, you get you get scenes where it's just Renly, like Renly and like two other people, one other guy sometimes, and you don't ever get that in the book, so you have no idea if he's gay or not. You have comments like this that kind of like point to it, but again, like I said, like this doesn't just because like somebody spends a lot
I
on
mean, it
clothes
could just
doesn't
be
mean that-
vain.
exactly. Yeah.
That was what I got. I didn't get anything out of that.
It'll be interesting
Point.
that now that
I-
Jeff has said that, if like you think that he's gay at the end of this, because a lot of people don't think he's gay at all, like in the books. It's like really subtle things like that. Just a few of them that people think. Mostly that other characters are making mention of things like that. But yeah, so Littlefinger just jokes back, and then this is when Littlefinger and Ned have their first interaction, and I guess this is like the first time they're meeting, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
probably.
for sure.
Like, because Ned's brother
Yeah,
knew
no, it's
Littlefinger.
definitely the first time there.
But I guess Littlefinger wasn't there when Ned got married to Cat, because Ned got married to Catelyn at River Run. Like not long after.
Yeah, but wasn't he banished to the Finger Lakes or what? Not Finger Lakes.
he
Well, it
literally
wasn't
says,
the
"I have
Fingers?
hoped
I don't
to
know.
meet you for
He
some
was
years,
from
Lord
there.
Stark."
He was like the Lord of the Fingers.
No, I'm not saying that they did meet before. I'm saying like it's
Oh, is it
isn't
weird?
it weird that they haven't met before? Because I don't know how long like apart like the battle or like duel or whatever between Brandon and Littlefinger was. But I assume not much.
Yeah,
It was
but
probably like-
I
I'm
don't
gonna
think they would
say
invite him to
same
the
year.
wedding.
I'm gonna say it's the same year.
Yeah, but like it's not like Brandon and Kat are supposed to get married. That fight takes place. Brandon dies. Ned takes his spot. Like that all I think happens pretty quick, like within a year or two.
I would say within a year.
So why is Littlefinger around when the promise to Brandon happens and not to Ned? I guess Glow's probably right. He probably was
he's
just.
still like a ward, isn't
That's the
he,
thing I'm
or-
wondering. I guess. Well, he was 15.
He's probably
I
not
don't
allowed
know.
around the fucking castle anymore.
Yeah, after that, he was probably not supposed to be there anymore.
So
Because Littlefinger's from the Fingers, but he was warding just like Ned was, but he was doing it at the castle where Catelyn was. Is that what you were gonna ask, Kyle?
no, I remember now that he challenged Brandon to a
Yeah.
duel because he wanted Catelyn.
Yeah.
That was what I was gonna ask, but I put it all together.
Yeah. So the first little conversation that they have is let's see. Well, yeah, exactly what Kyle just said. I've hoped to meet you for some years, Lord Stark. No doubt Lady Catelyn has mentioned me. Ned says she has, with a chill in his voice. The slight arrogance of the comment rankled him. I understand you knew Brandon as well. This is getting to what we were just talking about. Renly laughs at it, and Varys like shuffles over because he can tell things are getting good. And Littlefinger's like, yeah, a little too well. I still carry a token of his esteem. He's like, did Brandon speak of me too? And I think he's just like pissing Ned off now. Because Ned says, often and with some heat, hoping that it would end it.
Does that just mean like angry?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was negative shit.
Like
about
why would Brandon be angry though? I don't understand that.
Because he tried stealing his wife, bro.
Yeah, but like he literally just bitches the shit out of him in front of everybody he knows.
Yeah, but still,
You
I
know?
mean, I wouldn't like the dude, bro.
Well, I mean, and Ned's just pissed.
I'll just laugh at him. Just laugh.
I think
Well,
Ned's
that's
just
it. I think
pissed
it's
because
just like-
Littlefinger literally comes up saying like, "Oh, I'm sure your wife spoke like talked about me all the time." Like, what?
Yeah.
Like like that just pisses Ned off. And Ned's response is, "Oh yeah, so did my brother who fucking beat the shit out of you." And Littlefinger's like, "Oh really? Your brother spoke of me a lot?" And he's like, "Yeah, he did, and he wasn't happy with you." And then he like kind of because he just like
Or
walks
I mean, it
away,
wasn't.
right?
He might not even be anger, or just more of like, yeah, what a fucking loser. Like
Yeah,
negative,
yeah. And I
talking shit on him.
because he's just trying to get away. He's just trying to find a way out of this conversation. But Littlefinger just like keeps, and like Ned says, Littlefinger likes
So-
this game, dueling with words.
So, forget 1 second. What was the token that he left him with?
Some scar.
What it-
That's
Okay.
what
Yeah,
like,
it's a
I guess
scar.
we
That's
assume.
what I figured as much, but what was it? I don't remember that.
And I don't know if they've said it in the books. In the show, they say what it is. And I don't know if they ever bring it up again here. So I'll leave it open ended in case we find out. But it's nothing game
Okay.
changing. I don't think.
Okay.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
So yeah, but instead of like this Ned's comment like ending things, Littlefinger keeps going and he says, "I should have thought that heat ill suits you, Starks. Here in the South, you say that you're made of ice, or you melt when you ride below the neck." And Ned says, "I do not plan on melting soon, Lord Baelish. You may count on it." Ned moved to the table and said, "Maester Pycelle, I trust you well." So he just like literally just turns his back on him and walks away.
Yeah. I mean, lions don't care about the opinions of sheep.
Wolves don't care about the opinions of sheep.
Of mockingbirds, right?
I
That's
don't
Oh,
what
think that's
Littlefinger
the
is.
quote, though.
Of little fingers.
Yeah, but you can just tell that like Littlefinger's all about like these like word games,
Yeah.
and Ned. What
Oh, yeah,
Ned-
they
Ned
even talk
says,
about it
dueling
later,
with
I think.
words, patience. Ned has no patience for this game they played, but Littlefinger thrives off it, and Varys seems to thrive off it too. So what's the conversation with? How's the conversation with Grand Maester go, Jeff?
Between Ned and Grand Maester?
Yeah, he like walks up to him and basically just starts off like, "Oh, how you doing?"
Pretty much like, yeah, checking in. Grand Maester's like, "Oh, I'm just like old as shit. I get really tired now. Can we get
can we-
things going?"
Yeah, can we get things?
He
I'm
says
old
I'm
and
gonna fall
fat. Can
asleep
we just
if
keep
we wait
going?
much longer.
Yeah, he's gonna fall
So
asleep.
the way they have his chain in the show, it's like a big fucking necklace hanging
So,
down to his knees.
in
but
the show,
this
they
is,
have that for, like,
wrapped
everybody.
around like
No,
What?
what?
Dude, Master Lewin
it's like-
has
it
like
says from
one
his shoulder
piece of.
to his breast. So it's like
It's not,
wrapped
no,
around
it's
a
not
bunch
wrapped
down.
around. No, it's just one. No, he compares it to
No.
Lewin's because Lewin's is a.
No, it's wrapped around a bunch.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
'Cause it says it goes from his neck to his
It's.
breast.
I think
So
it looks
wrapped
like
around,
like
like a-
7 chains, almost like a
Yeah.
not a European, like an
No, it's-
Egyptian.
No, 'cause he
yeah,
says
like,
he only
a-
has
like
2
an
dozen.
Egyptian or African
Two
necklace.
dozen chains.
He has 14, right?
2 dozen.
2 dozen.
Like 2
Okay, so
dozen
24.
heavy chains
24
wound together.
lengths.
24 is like one loop, right? Think about like a rapper with a fucking gold ass chain. It's just that's to your breast. He's comparing
That's
it
one
to
chain.
he's comparing it-
24 chains.
no
24
no,
chains.
He means
24
links.
links.
Yeah.
They're
No
probably
way.
big links though, dude.
The way
they're not small.
Listen. The way that the Citadel works is anytime you master a subject, you get a new link on your chain of a new metal that indicates that thing. So this
Yeah.
means
Yeah.
he mastered 24.
So you get a new link on one chain. He has
Well, how about
24
Lewin has
chains.
like one?
Lewin has
like one.
Lewin has
thing.
like a choker. Yeah, he has like
Yeah.
he has like 9 chains because he mastered 9 subjects, 9 links of a chain. That's why it's a fucking choker.
Yeah,
Maester
that's
Pycelle has 24, so it hangs. He has no trouble breathing. That's what he says here, doesn't
Okay.
he?
No,
Sure.
it says it goes from his neck to his breast.
I don't know what that means. I think
I
that
think
means
it
that
means
his
that
chain
it's-
hangs.
I thought it was like layered, multiple.
stacked. I think it's lots of chains.
I don't see
That was
how
what I
you would-
got.
Jeff,
Because
look up an Egyptian necklace.
So later on,
I mean, how can I
No,
show you
what?
guys?
That's not what it is. One of the ones
I
that
know
makes your
exactly what
neck
you're
lock.
talking
This
Yeah,
is what I was thinking for sure.
because
Screen share.
I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, I
Later
will.
on, they say like if you're really smart, you can get like one link of a chain in a year. If you think he has 24 separate chains, each
This
one
is
has
what
to
I-
be at least 10 links. That's 240 years. There's no way.
Can you?
But 2 dozen
24
heavy chains wound together into a ponderous metal necklace that covered him from throat to breast.
Yeah,
Covered him.
I guess.
How isn't that heavy though? Like, I mean, how do you walk around with that much on your neck?
It is heavy, and he's old, which is
Yeah,
why
beastie.
I don't think it's what you guys are saying.
That's why he's always freaking tired.
Oh, the one like a necklace that looks like fucking armor.
It's just like different level hanging beads or chains.
Yeah, I like how we're arguing over some necklaces that are completely insignificant. Other than
I see what you're saying about the
that this
Egyptian
dude
necklace thing, but I
is-
don't understand how that is made out of 24 links of chain.
I don't know. Just continue.
So,
Alright, so they start talking about why they are meeting up together. And basically, Baelish hands them well, Ned first
Or
notes that everyone's a flatterer or a fool.
Yeah, so this is funny because I went back and I looked at that chapter to get that full quote. So not like the full thing, but like the sentence before and after. It says, this is Robert talking to Ned when they're down in the crypts in the first Ed chapter. They all want something, money or land or justice, the lies they tell, and my lords and ladies are no better. I'm surrounded by flatterers and fools. It can drive a man to madness. Ned, half of them don't dare tell me the truth, and the other half can't find it. So
So do you think Ned thinks Renly's a flatterer or a fool here?
So it's funny because that's what I was wondering. Because Ned says right after he's like, he already thought he knew who everyone was, and I don't think any of these people are really foolish, right?
No, I don't think so.
I think they're all kind of a little bit of both flattery and except for Renly. Renly doesn't seem to give a fuck about flattering Robert, at least. It seems like the rest of them are a little bit of both.
I mean, I don't think Robert really
mostly
gives a fuck about
not
anyone.
a little bit of both. Mostly flattery, not much fool. And the opposite.
Robert probably thinks they're all fools. Like, shut up, Lord Barris, you fucking eunuch fool.
They all seem like
Tell me I'm
Skanniving,
broke.
which is like Skanniving, which makes me. Is that even a word?
Conniving.
That's
Conniving.
not a word.
Skanniving.
It's a new Game of Thrones word. They all seem like that, which makes me think that they're smart, right? You don't get like conniving people aren't stupid normally, I guess. But
Yeah, but Robert himself is stupid.
Very true. And I like you said, I just don't think Renly cares. He's not really trying to do anything.
yeah, I just thought it was weird how he says like flatters and fools. I think I already know which ones are which. It's like, well,
Yeah,
none
I
of
guess
them are.
that's-
If none of them are fools, right?
Yeah.
Which one do you think he thinks is a fool?
I think he thinks Pycel's a fool.
Baelish.
Who?
Baelish.
Pycelle.
Peter.
You think the
Peter.
guy
Fucking-
who's like literally the guy who the only one at the table who's been to the Citadel, which is like the only college in Westeros.
And he thinks he's a fool because he doesn't feel like fucking. He's sleepy all the time, old and fat.
I think
guess,
I
don't
think he
know.
thinks that
What about
Baelish is a
Littlefinger?
fool. Yeah, Littlefinger.
Littlefinger.
just
Maybe he
doesn't
thinks
like him.
Littlefinger's a fool at this point because he just met him and doesn't really know him yet. But I think by the end of the chapter he won't be thinking that.
Well, I think he hates him too. So
Yeah.
Well,
I
obviously.
think, yeah, I think
he's-
that's what he means by fool
Oh,
in that
okay.
sense. Like, this guy's a fucking idiot. Like, get him away from me.
All right, so I think you guys are. I think you're right. So Jeff, yeah. Who's or anybody who's missing from the council?
Stannis.
The king and Barris and Selmy.
Barris and
And
yeah,
Stannis.
and Stannis.
And the only reason Selmy's missing is because he's walking the king in.
Yeah. And where's Stannis?
Back at
Dragonstone.
Dragonstone.
Yeah, so he's at Dragonstone, and he left right after Robert left. That's what Varys says.
Mhm.
And yeah, Barristan and Robert are still there. So Ned's like, well, shouldn't we wait till
The
Robert
king's
and
here.
Barristan
yeah.
are here?
He's
Ha!
like,
That'll be a long wait.
Huh.
That'll be a long sit.
Because Robert doesn't come to these meetings. Robert doesn't like fucking ruling.
Being a
apparently, he
king.
just likes
Doesn't like being a king.
Yeah, he likes
Yeah.
making commands every once in a while, which is what Renly says. It's like, yeah, we rule, and every once in a while he'll send us a note of what we have to do, and then we do it. And he's like, speaking of,
Like
I have this note right now.
note. And therefore,
So
So-
pretty much he's saying that he just is king in name only. These are the guys that run the show.
Well, I was
think is-
wondering too, because when Ned walks in his room the first time and Renly's there, I'm like, wait, we saw Renly at the wolf thing, and he got dismissed from that meeting, right? Because he was laughing at Joffrey. I was like, did he come back to King's Landing like then, like by himself? But no, we find out here that Robert just like must have like earlier today
Told
or
him to run
yesterday
ahead.
told him to ride ahead, and call this meeting. And if I was Ned, that would piss me off, right? When you're finding out that your best friend just asked you to do this for him, like to take on this huge responsibility for him, and as soon as you get into the city, you get commanded to go to a meeting that you don't realize is from him, and then when you get there, you're like, oh, not only did he call this meeting, but he's not even gonna come. It's like, what the fuck,
Yeah.
dude?
Bobby
He's
B,
definitely
man,
pissed.
This
doesn't
was-
give a shit.
Ned's like
Bobby
finally
V.
realizing what he stepped in, like what this fucking job is gonna be. He's gonna be the fucking king, basically. When you're the hand and the king doesn't do anything, you're the fucking king. So Ned gets this note and he reads it, that whatever this note that Robert gave Renly, the new command.
Which I think leads credence to the whole John Arryn getting murdered thing. By the way,
What do you mean?
because if he was pretty much the king
Yeah,
and the Lannisters want to take over,
yeah, kill John Arryn. Hopefully that
Yeah.
Ned or Robert makes one of the Lannisters' hand. Now even if you're not the actual king, you're basically the king.
yeah, or just getting people out of the way.
Which is what Cersei was saying, right? Cersei was
Can a
saying
Lord
that-
Commander be the hand?
a Lord Commander.
Yes, right.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
that's
so,
happened. That's
yeah.
happened before in the history.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if so Barristan could be hand because he's the Lord Commander, but I don't know. I guess Jamie could too
Well,
because
I
Cersei
meant
was
a knight-
saying, yeah, you meant
one
King
of the
Gerard, but like,
Yeah.
and they must be able to because like when Cersei and Jamie are fucking, wasn't she saying like I could have insisted that you be made hand?
Yeah. Maybe that ends one job and you become the other.
Because Jamie was saying like I didn't want it. No, I know there've been people who were
You'd
Lord
probably be both.
Commander. Yeah, and the fact that Cersei brings it up, I assume you probably can.
Cersei doesn't know shit.
But yeah, so that's a good point. For the Littlefinger or for the John Arryn thing.
So, yeah. So they open this letter, and it's they want a tournament, or Robert wants a big tournament, big feast event. Excuse me, big event for the new hand.
Yeah,
essentially.
so he puts it on, but basically makes it because of Ned.
Yeah,
And Ned's like, what the
"Nah,
fuck?
Fuck this stuff.
Because it's gonna cost
Especially-
him fucking a shit ton of money.
100,000.
Yeah.
100,000 gold dragons.
Just-
Holy bejeebus.
So 90,000 just for the prize money, and Littlefinger's like, plus we're gonna have to have a feast and all that other bullshit that comes along with it, hiring staff and
I mean,
jugglers and musicians.
It sounds ridiculous that
So
you give 90,000 away.
Well, that's
what
that's
doesn't
a
make
cost
sense.
really
for-
So
high.
how come
It is really
like
high.
all right, in today's time, if we have, say, the Olympics in one of our cities, it's a huge cash cow for that city. Like, they do have to spend a lot of money to get prepped, but they also make a lot of money from people coming and spending money there.
Right.
How come that's
yeah.
not the case at a feast, like, or at a tournament? How come they're not making money off it at all?
I don't know if it's for the tournament or if it's for like later on when there's like a battle or something, or like maybe it's like a war. But somebody does say that like they're like it might not be good for the castle, but it's good for like the commoners, or good for like the people, the merchants, right? It's good for the middle class because it like just fills the streets with people who are like buying shit. But yeah, it like I guess it pays off in taxes. Like I guess that's how the city would get reimbursed. But I don't know. Like I don't know how a city and like what you said for the Olympics. I understand how it's good for the economy of that city, but how is it like the
They're not
state?
charging.
like
They're
the
not charging
government-
tickets to come watch.
Like the government doesn't make. Are they making money off like a tax off the ticket sales? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. How does the
Yeah,
actual government of
In
that
our
city
city's
make money?
100%.
Yeah.
I
Sales
mean,
tax. What do you
I
mean?
think
I
the
mean, it
Olympics
boosts the
are
economy
also
and-
a problem as well in that sense. So you have a bunch of like useless facilities afterwards. Like a lot of those places are empty now.
Well, yeah, that's other countries. In America, we're fine because we can just use football
when
and
was-
college
yeah, what?
stadiums.
The last time they did it was in Atlanta for America,
Yeah,
and they just use those stadiums for what? Football stadiums now? Soccer stadiums? I have no idea.
but you look at like Sochi. I think that place is fucking empty, right?
Yeah, Brazil, I know. Like, they were
Yeah.
real pissed about it because they were spending so much money on it, and
Yeah.
it's going to be abandoned.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's not an issue that's in Game of Thrones, right? I don't think you have to
Yeah.
build huge facilities. You just need a big open field
No.
where people can
Yeah.
ride horses at each other.
But you still
Well,
have to
and
spend a
if-
lot of money on
Yeah.
the
for sure.
winners.
But I think
and-
the reason he spends so much on the winners is like to show like I'm the fucking king. I have shitloads of money.
Well, also the thing
but
is,
then they go into this whole. Actually, we're really fucking broke.
well,
Like,
what
we've
makes
been really fucking
what
broke
makes a
for
tournament
while.
great, right? If you have this huge country, and you're like,
Great,
and you're the
great
king,
players.
and you're like, I want to throw a tournament. What makes that tournament awesome?
Best of the best.
You just want everybody. And how do you get everybody? How do you get the best people from the
Best of-
highest in the north and the lowest in the south?
A lot of coin.
You just
A lot
need-
of coin getting thrown around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best jousters don't even get out of bed for anything less than 20,000 golden dragons.
Well, good thing it's 40,000.
40 for the winner, seconds 20. But yeah, so that's cool. It's the whole thing of like the whole tournament's cool, but when we find out what happens here, this is something that I think Glow mentioned a few chapters ago. A little premature baby spoiler was that we're in debt to the Lannisters over here. And I thought that the Lannisters were the secondary debtor. I thought this Iron Bank of Bravos was the highest. But
Same.
it doesn't even look like the Iron Bank is second highest.
Yeah.
It looks like
The
it's
Tyrells.
It looks like it's Tywin Lannister, then Lord Tyrell are the top two moneylenders, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who wants to jump in and do this quote? Narrator, Littlefinger, Ned, or who we got? You three can take it.
All right, I'm narrating.
Kyle can be Littlefinger. Glow, you can be Ned.
Where am I starting?
What treachery is that? Littlefinger replied with a twist of his mouth. All right, Kyle, you're Littlefinger.
What treasury is that?
Littlefinger replied with a twist of his mouth.
Spare me the foolishness, maester. You know as well as I that the treasury has been empty for years. I shall have to borrow the money. No doubt the Lannisters will be accommodating. We owe Lord Tywin some 3 million dragons at present. What matter another 100,000?
Ned was stunned.
Are you claiming that the crown is 3 million gold pieces in debt?
The crown is more than 6 million pieces in debt, Lord Stark. The Lannisters are the biggest part of it, but we have also borrowed from Lord Tyrell, the Iron Bank of Bravos, and several Tyroshi trading cartels. Of late, I've had to turn to the faith. The High Septon haggles worse than the Dornish fishmonger.
Ned was aghast.
Aerys Targaryen left a treasury flowing with gold. How could you let this happen?
Littlefinger gave a shrug.
The master of coin finds the money, the king in the hand spend it.
I would not believe that Jon Arryn allowed Robert to beggar the realm.
Ned said hotly. Grandmaster Pycelle shook his great bald head, his chains clinking softly.
Lord Arryn was a prudent man, but I fear his grace does not always listen to wise counsel.
My royal brother loves tournaments and feasts.
Renly Baratheon said.
And he loathes what he calls counting coppers. I will speak with his grace.
Ned said.
This tourney is an extravagance the realm cannot afford. Speak to him as you will.
Lord Renly said.
We had still best make our plans. Another day.
Ned said, perhaps too sharply, from the looks they gave him. He would have to remember that he was no longer in Winterfell, where only the king stood higher. Here, he was but first among equals.
Forgive me, my lords,
he said in a softer tone.
I am tired. Let us call a halt for today and resume when we are fresher.
He did not ask for their consent, but stood abruptly, nodded at them all, and made for the door.
All right, that's good. That's what we got to do. We got to make Glow be two characters that talk to each other, so he has to change his voice.
It threw me off. I was like, oh fuck, I gotta talk again.
Well, I didn't realize that Grandmaster Pycelle and Renly were in this. I thought Jeff was gonna hop in as Renly, but
no one did. You know,
you
hop right in there,
figured it
bro.
out.
I'm the narrator, man. That's all I do.
So we learned what we just said, that they're a shit ton in debt, 6 million. But also, Littlefinger's the master of coin. And when Ned is like, yo, dude, literally when we took over, how long ago was it? 16 years, right? They took over the crown about 16 years ago. He's like, when we took over, there was a fucking shit ton of gold. What happened? And he's like, I don't know. That's basically his answer. He's like, I find. I find the coin and they spend it. And it's like, okay, well, you've been doing a horrible job finding it, then, right? If we don't have any.
So let me go here though. I think, and now, I mean, I get the vibe that Littlefinger sucks from like all this, but it feels like Robert is forcing this in the sense that he just loves to spend this money and show and like put on these big events and do all this stuff, and nobody tells him no. Is what I got out of that. And he's like
flatterers and fools.
Robert
man.
definitely is like, I'm gonna fucking kill you for saying no.
I get you, but that's Littlefinger's job. When Robert comes to you,
I
and
know,
says,
but it sounds like he's tried to do his job
Okay.
with that.
yeah, it seems like at this point they're just like, we know there's no stopping him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's what Kyle's saying is right, because Grand Maester Pycelle agrees, right? He says Lord Aaron tried, right?
Lord Aaron was a prudent man.
Yeah, but nobody can get Robert to like listen to reason when it comes to that kind of shit. He's like, I'm the king, I'll have what I want, and they'll figure it out later. So yeah, Ned is just like, all right, stop. I'm talking to Robert before we do anything else. He doesn't have that conversation, so let's get a prediction from Kyle right now. How's that conversation go when Ned tries to have this
He
talk with
says,
Robert?
"Yeah, we're gonna do it."
Robert says that, and then what?
Yeah,
Ned
yeah.
just like, okay, and rolls over.
He's gonna like say like we're fucking broke, and he's gonna say no, but yeah, whatever, we're gonna do it.
That's a pretty horrible prediction, but you think it'll end up? You think it'll end up happening?
I think it's gonna. Yeah, I think it's gonna. So I mean, you've kind of tainted my prediction with your statement there. It sounds like it's not gonna happen.
No, I'm just saying like that conversation. There's obviously going to be some heat in that conversation. I'm saying you're not making a prediction of the conversation. You're making a prediction of the outcome. And that's your prediction.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think it's gonna be the first real like show of Ned trying to be the hand.
Well, because I'm saying we've had 4 Ned chapters, and in all of them he's had all of them except for the first one, right? The first one they go down to the crypts, him and Robert are buddy. The next 3 chapters basically are him fighting with Robert, right? The next one is him. They like ride out in the morning, and Robert's like, I want to kill this Targaryen girl across the sea. Ned gets pissed off that he wants to kill girls, and he thinks about the fight they had way back when, or kill little kids. Second chapter, the wolf thing, right? Ned goes in and they
guess
had a
it's
similar thing,
more
and then
the
a kid dies
deterioration
in
of
the
the
end.
relationship. Yeah,
Micah dies, and Ned, he says in this chapter he holds Robert accountable for that, for Micah. And then, fuck, I thought there was another Robert Ned fight about something else,
So.
But whatever.
check your notes.
I was just thinking, even in this chapter, he said like we couldn't ride with them because we're like not on good terms.
Yeah,
right
I think
now.
I
he's
think
gonna show up and
have...
like be like, "Hey, we're not doing this tournament that you commanded." Robert's gonna be fucking pissed. I don't hate the prediction that ends up happening because he is the fucking king. He gets what he wants, but I'm like, that's not just. I'm saying this conversation is not gonna go over well.
So maybe it doesn't happen, and it's just kind of the point of this is Ned having to learn his place as like you're not the king anymore. You are now second in command to the king, but only by a little bit, because they even say that he's first of equals.
I don't understand why Ned says that though. He's the hand of the king. He's not the fucking.
Yeah, but these guys are all
even
on the
with
council,
the Master
though.
of Whispers.
Yeah, I agree with Jeff on this one. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, you're not really equal though.
I see what your guys are saying. How like I feel like if Ned gave Varys a command, Varys would have to do it. But if Varys gave Ned a command, it wouldn't go the other way. But also, when any of them says something to Robert, it's all coming. You know what I mean? Like they can have control through Robert at the same level. Like if Varys tell Robert do something and Ned says don't do it, Robert could just as easily side with Varys as Ned. Right? At that point, they're just equals.
I feel you there, dog.
They're just 2 voices. And if Robert's actually doing his job, that's how most things should be done, right? Like everybody gives their opinion, and then Robert weighs them all and decides.
Right.
It shouldn't be
like,
Ned
as a good leader should.
It shouldn't be like Ned giving commands.
But just like if the real president's not there, who makes the decision? With the United States,
they normally, like,
the vice president?
I don't know.
But like the cabinet, right? Like there's a bunch of people on the cabinet, but I'm sure there's a ranking system.
But all right, president dies, vice president is fucking doing the deals.
Yeah, but if the president's not dead, he's just first among equals. Basically, the vice president is, right? That's how it's supposed to be.
He's the first among equals. I agree with that.
Yeah, so I think that's just similar.
Not in the House of Representatives.
Whatever.
That's
for a chapter that we know is going to be long already. We're getting off track a lot on friggin' maesters, necklaces, and nonsense.
Yeah, we didn't even get to the second part yet.
We didn't even get to the second part.
Dude, you're the one talking about rushes for 30 minutes.
All right, Ned's outside. He leaves this friggin' chamber. He's trying to go back. He's pissed off about I think it's just more of what we heard earlier, that this is when we find out that the king is riding behind where he was, and he's pissed. The kids are pissed. Arya's pissed about the butcher's boy Micah. Sansa's pissed about the wolf. Littlefinger shows up while Ned's trying to figure out how to get back to his room. He's like, "Oh, you're going the wrong way. Follow me." and they go like some weird way through a thing, down a thing, across the courtyard, through another thing, and there's like weird old ancient armor things from before Robert, like Targaryen armor, and Ned's like
Dragon scales.
He's like, we're definitely not going the right way at this point. Like we're down somewhere deep.
He knows
people don't
something's
come
up.
a lot.
Yeah.
And then Littlefinger makes a joke and says like, oh, you're right. I'm taking you to the dungeons to slit your throat and bury you behind a wall. Is that a reference to that book that I had to read in high school? Where the guy got buried behind a wall?
Count of Monte Cristo? Is that book?
Telltale
Yeah.
Heart.
He got buried,
the
buried
cellar
in the floor.
in the wine cellar.
The cask of
Wasn't
Amante. No, the guy
No,
got
yeah,
buried.
he's talking about the wine cellar. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he
know
gets
what you're
buried
talking
in the
Yeah,
about.
wine cellar,
it's
right?
brick by brick.
I thought you were
And he
talking
like
about
slowly bricks the wall up. I forget what it is though.
But is the guy dead already? Like, does he cut his throat? I thought he like paralyzed the guy. and
No,
put him
he
back
doesn't
there
get-
and then,
I
like,
think he
bricks him up.
paralyzed him or something.
And then like bricks
No,
him
I
up.
thought he just chained him there.
Oh,
Yeah.
chained him there. Okay.
But anyway,
I don't know. I just thought it was weird that he said that. And I was trying to show my
What book?
literary
What
knowledge.
was that?
That's
What
Cask
was
of
that?
Monte Cristo or Cask of Amontillado or something.
Did you look that up today or something?
No, in my notes I have Cask of Amonte whatever reference.
Monty, whatever. Very
I don't think
good.
it's cask of anything,
I
but
think it
we're
was.
gonna
I
look
thought it
it
was
up.
Cask,
Is that Edgar Allan
or
Poe?
Count of. It's either Cask of or Count of.
Book.
Is that Edgar Allan Poe?
I don't know. I read it in high school, so it's something famous.
I know. Yeah, I remember that though.
It was a short
The
story.
one where he buries the person in the floorboards, and then he.
That's
You know,
Telltale
that-
Heart.
That's
Edgar Allan. That's
Poe.
Edgar
Yeah.
Allan Poe.
Yeah, but he might have written this too. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Who cares?
Well, Kyle's looking it up.
Kyle's googling.
Cask of Amontillado. You were right, Nelson.
Cask.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar. Nice.
Woo! I got Edgar.
Chained to a wall and then slowly bricked up.
Yeah. So I don't know. Not a direct reference, but just I thought it was weird. So Littlefinger comes out and he's like, "We're going to see Cat." And what Littlefinger says here, like, how does he not get punched? He's like, if you don't believe me, whatever, stay here, come or not. If you don't come, I'll keep her all to myself. Like, what? You're talking about this dude's wife.
I
You're about to
know.
get punched if you do that. If you say that shit, right?
I mean,
I'll keep
I
your
mean,
wife to
He
myself.
does get
Sure.
accosted at the end of it.
I don't think he still
Yeah.
believes it. I
Let's
still
give it,
don't
like,
think he believes
two
like
more
his wife's
two
there,
more
though.
lines, and we'll see how he actually feels. about Littlefinger.
Yeah. So, well, next they come out onto a fucking cliffside, right? So he basically just took them to.
Secret way out of the castle,
The,
man.
yeah, the castle is basically like up on a big cliff, and like I guess like 3/4 of it is probably cliff face right outside the walls that go down to the ocean / river / bay. It says they're above a river here, but then I guess there's like one entrance when you come up the fucking hill to the cliff is how most people get to the castle. So he goes out the back way, basically out the back door, climbs down the thing down to a muddy road, and then Littlefinger's already ahead of him because he climbs down first, and he has some.
Finishing an apple.
Yeah, he's got some horses waiting, and they hop on and ride into the city through the front way, probably the same way like Cat came in, and then they go to takes them to this 3-story brothel. And
How dope does this
the
brothel have to be?
Littlefinger-
and again,
Littlefinger's brothel.
Ned says like, what, like, why the hell did you bring me here?
He's like, your
And
wife's in there.
He's like, your wife's inside, and Ned gets pissed and like what, just like pushes him up against the wall, smashes him against the thing, and pulls a
With the
dagger to his
knife,
throat.
yeah.
Yeah.
Literally just gonna kill him.
Yeah. And
Roger
then
pulls up.
Roger comes up. Ned turns around and doesn't even know who this dude is, and he's like, "Fuck, I'll stab you!" And he realizes it's Roger
Is this because of no beard?
because the beard. Yeah,
Without it, yeah.
because he
Puke
puked all in
beard?
his beard.
Yeah.
He threw up too much.
And Roger's like, "No, yeah, he's right. It's fucking Cat's inside."
All right, so basically, they just go up to start talking to Catelyn and all that jazz.
Well,
So-
the first thing is Littlefinger's like, he's like, try not to look so. Littlefinger says like
He
something.
grabs
Yeah, he
some
says
tits.
be inconspicuous, like
Grab
touch some
some tits
titties,
on
it's
the
like
way.
slap an ass or
titties.
two.
Yeah. It's like you might want to fondle
Touch
a breast or two.
Some titties.
grab him right in the pussy.
Fuck her right in the pussy.
Well, yeah, so they just go up into Catelyn's room. Catelyn's in
Yeah.
there, runs up to Ned, and Littlefinger's like, "Oh, you recognize her at least, because you didn't recognize
Yeah.
Roderick."
Yeah. And they start. So like Ned like comes up, he's like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" Super confused, and he like notices her hands.
Yes.
And he at
And
first
her-
he thinks that like a fucking sword went through her hands because they're so deep. And
Then she whips out the dagger. She's like, "Nah, this John."
yeah.
What happened? He's just like so confused.
So then
Is Bran dead?
She gives
Wait,
him the
that's-
411 on the whole story. It just skips through the whole story.
Does Catelyn even know that he's?
Which I'm surprised they let
No.
Littlefinger sit the whole time. I feel like Ned would be like, "Can you get the
I
fuck
thought
out
the
of here?"
same thing, man. I was wondering that as well. They treated him like he was okay with being there.
Well, I thought
Mm.
Roderick was in the room too. I thought it was like a group thing. I didn't
Nah,
think it
Sir
was
Roderick
like.
waited outside.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he pretty much told
I'm
Sir
not
Roderick
sure.
to stay outside. Didn't he?
Roderick stayed
I'm
downstairs.
not
It
sure.
said.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I definitely said that.
Yeah, it said he stayed downstairs. Yeah, the soft flesh. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I just now figured that out. Anyway,
What?
he says the soft flesh under his chin wobbled as he ran, and that was
Yeah.
because he never saw his neck before
'cause
because he had a
because he had
huge
the beard.
beard. Yeah.
Yeah. So, the first thing, Glow, is that when I'm surprised you didn't remember this one. As soon as Cat tells a story, Ned is like all about the wolves. He's like,
Yeah.
fuck these wolves that he remembers Jon Snow saying your
Yeah.
children were meant to have these pups. And he gets like super. He's like, oh my god, I can't believe I killed Lady. Like I'm such a fucking idiot. Like what have I done? He's like, what if the gods actually sent these wolves?
Yeah, he's like, the gods are gonna be pissed at me for this. Like, what folly have I done?
Which is weird because when that chapter where he sees the wolves or he talks to Catelyn about it, right? Catelyn says something about like there was like the stag horn had killed the mom dire wolf, right? And she's like, it's a bad sign, blah blah blah. And he's like, I don't believe in any of that bullshit. And Catelyn, I think it's a Catelyn chapter. She thinks to herself like, why does my husband not like believe in signs or like omens or anything? But we know he's religious, so I guess thinking something's from the gods is different. But it's weird that he wouldn't think that like, if he thinks this is from the gods, why not think other things are from the gods? I see how I don't see the difference there, right?
Agreed.
Between like being afraid of signs, but if you think some things are from the gods, couldn't other things be from the gods, like evil signs? So then he like is confused, like why would Tyrion do this? Like if you're saying it's the Imp Dagger, like what would
Then Littlefinger.
Yeah,
Littlefinger's like, dude, he didn't work alone. What are you talking about?
it's weird because all they have, basically all they're going off of right now is the Littlefinger knows that the dagger's Tyrion's, so they know Tyrion was involved somehow, but they don't actually put the pieces together of like why would Tyrion do this, so they just like tie him to a family member. I guess is their detective skills.
Well, nobody knows why he fell yet.
Well, yeah, why he fell. So
Catelyn
was
probably
suspicious.
explained that. Yeah, I think Catelyn probably explained like, Jaime wasn't out on the raid or on the hunt with you guys, so he was back in the castle.
Because she
could've
does
pushed
tell
him.
Roderick and them that he was thrown.
Yeah, so I feel like she would tell Ned that.
And it doesn't make sense though, because Tyrion was actually on the hunt, right? So you can't. The fact that you have Bran being thrown from somebody who definitely couldn't have thrown him, or Bran being attacked and tried to murder, like have an assassin sent from somebody who definitely couldn't have been the one to throw him, right? So you have two separate attacks on Bran's life. I guess that is how you know Tyrion wasn't working alone, right?
Yeah.
But that might be
Yeah.
part of their deduction. But that's not what. And you would think Cat would be the one to say that because we don't know exactly what Cat tells Ned. It just kind of like what Glow said. The book does the same thing. It just says like, yeah, she basically told him the whole story. And you're like, okay,
Does
well, what's
Cat
the
even
whole
know he
story?
woke up?
No,
Cat-
No, yeah.
Cat doesn't know Bran woke up.
no, she's been on the
Oh
road.
yeah,
man.
John is like the only one because John gets
Yeah.
that news, right? Yeah, John gets that.
Yeah,
news
he
last
gets the
chapter.
letter. Yeah,
That's nuts. I didn't realize. I totally forgot that.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Chef.
I remembered that
They
So
could've
yeah,
gotten Raven.
so they
'Cause-
said so.
because he asks, "Is he dead?" And she doesn't really answer because she doesn't know.
Yeah. So what does when Littlefinger hints that he wasn't working alone, what's Ned immediately first thing he thinks?
Cersei.
Cersei,
Yeah.
and then Robert.
Oh yeah, and Robert.
Yeah, because he talked about killing Daenerys.
And then he was fine with, and he wasn't like upset when the butcher's boy died, right? Like that's like a 12-year-old kid who was just like cut down. And
Yeah,
while
he's cool with
he
killing
didn't
kids.
do it, Robert didn't seem pissed about it, right?
One sending people out to go kill kids is his thing.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Also crazy, not crazy, but Littlefinger the whole time is playing with his dagger, like flipping it in his hand, and he even like tosses it to Ned. Fucking Varys literally like cut his finger by like getting too close to this thing last chapter we saw this, and now Littlefinger's like tossing it around.
Because it was Littlefingers.
Yeah, so he's got some experience with it, but still he tosses it to Ned. Like what if I don't know.
He trusts Ned's skills with.
Ned's
What if he just
knifeman skills.
killed Ned and just like
Yeah, I guess he could just like pin Ned to a wall
Knife
with this
through
thing,
it
right?
to
No,
him.
I don't think Ned will die in the whole series.
That's a good prediction.
That's a bold prediction, God. Let's see how it works out for
I
him.
think he's unkillable.
But Littlefinger's like, yeah, I don't think the king knew about this. And it wasn't that like the way Littlefinger says it says like it's not that he didn't know, but it's like he kind of just purposely turned away and like let whatever was going to happen. Because he says most like the king did not know, it would not be the first time our good Robert has practiced at closing his eyes to things he would rather not see. Right, so it's kind of just like that. Those are two conflicting statements, right? If
it isn't.
if he's like purposely averting his eyes, you know what I mean? That's like that second line makes me think like, oh, it'd be a shame if Bran died. I'm gonna go walk over here. You know what I mean?
That's not what I got. I thought it meant like he knows
He'll
things
walk over here.
happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna go not look at Bran and like leave forever. That's what it sounds like, right? In that quote.
Well, it's more like if they did kill him, he wouldn't care.
Oh, he just wouldn't. He wouldn't investigate. He wouldn't dig too
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah,
I gotcha.
exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense because I read that. I'm like, that's conflicting. And Littlefinger points out, he's like, okay, but slow your roll here, Ned. Like, if you say anything, you're fucked. You're accusing, even if you're not accusing Robert, you're accusing the Queen, so it's treason, right? It doesn't matter if Robert knew anything. And he's like, and you'd be stupid to do that. You'd be dead in a day if you accused somebody of royal blood without any proof. And Ned's like, we have the dagger.
It's the dagger. It's right here.
And kind of like we said last time, I think like that doesn't prove shit, right? Just because you have
Where's
a
the
dagger.
CSI Miami?
Exactly.
There's just cum everywhere.
You can't do blood testing.
I guess I didn't know there was, but okay.
No, wasn't
actually
that Pineapple
no
Express? Right?
There's actually no cum in this crime scene.
Yeah.
In this one, there'll be plenty cum in crime scenes later in this book, but not in this one. So yeah, Ned thinks that the dagger's proof. They basically say the dagger's not proof. Like, there's no way you can do shit. And it makes the whole like Catelyn trip to Winterfell kind of pointless because like basically what they end up on here is you're gonna find out if they murdered Jon Arryn. Like, they're like, okay, now that we know all this, Ned, you got to find out if they murdered Jon Arryn. It's like, what? That's what Ned came here to do in the first place. Why did you come? Right? It seems like this whole cat trip was pointless. Besides, now I guess you have Littlefinger. They get like Littlefinger helping out Ned. That's what they gain from this.
Is he?
That's what he says, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I guess
that's-
it also increases the urgency. Like, yo, they're coming after our family now. You really got to find it like as soon as possible.
And Ned also makes some commands like for the whole North at the end of the chapter, right? Like fortify this castle, fortify the neck.
So,
just in
so I think it was
preparation.
Which I
kinda
never noticed
stupid
before.
of them
But that's
to.
What, Kyle?
Sorry, I was gonna say I thought it was pretty stupid of them to tell Littlefinger about Lord Arryn.
About that they think that the Lannisters killed him.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I think that's the dumbest thing that could have happened.
Well, if that's what I see what you're saying, but if that's what they're trying to find out, like Ned says, I think once Littlefinger offers his help or whatever, is like Ned says like he didn't really want it, but he realizes now after today that he needs it. Like he has no.
No, he's just pretty much said it wouldn't be the first time he aligned with somebody that he hated.
Which is weird. I didn't know what he's referencing there in the past. I guess the Lannisters.
I mean, just
like
no, not even that. It might not be anything particular, but I mean, sometimes you have to align with people you don't like.
Well, I'm
to get
thinking this
things
is probably.
done.
I was thinking that this might be calling out what he talked about with Robert before, where he walks into the throne room. Jaime has killed the previous king, right? It's like
Yeah,
he
okay,
obviously
yeah.
doesn't like the Lannisters, but they were on the same side there, which is what I thought he was going for. But there's a part where he says like he realized that Littlefinger's help is going to be big, like because he has no way to do this shit on his own, right?
he needs some allies. Right now he's trying to solve a mystery and he's got no fucking help. And he doesn't trust anybody. He only trusts people that he brought, and they don't know dick either.
Well, Littlefinger talks about it as Varys under control, which I don't believe.
Well, and we were thinking if they were working on the same team last time, I think the consensus was no, right? But it seemed like based on what the information, they were talking more than they were letting on.
When they were
When they were talking
met
to Cat,
Catelyn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how we thought like Littlefinger's like, oh, who's Sir Roderick? What's this knife? We thought like maybe they might have talked already.
Well, Catelyn even says like Varys knows like a shit ton of stuff.
Oh, I found it. It says it was right after. Yeah, it was right after what the first thing you said. Kat says I told Peter our suspicions about Jon Arryn's death. He has promised to help you find the truth. That was not news that Eddard Stark welcomed, but it was true enough that they needed help. And Littlefinger had been almost a brother to Kat once.
Yeah, but I don't think that was the right person. I still don't agree with that.
I get what you're saying, that Littlefinger doesn't seem like the most trusting guy, but like they don't have any other connections down here. Right? Well, I guess
Catelyn trusts him. She called him brother.
And they have like Robert, right? Because that's Ned's best friend, but that's obviously the
Not
person.
right now.
Yeah, that's the person.
Yeah, Robert's not a.
Yeah, but when he left Winterfell, he thought that's who I can trust, but he finds out now that he can't trust Robert. Well, I guess it's not really a trust thing with Robert. He just doesn't. They're not on the same page. They don't see eye to eye.
Yeah, he doesn't trust him.
I don't know.
He's untrustworthy. He seems like a fucking liar,
Yeah,
manipulator, piece of shit.
So I think we got everything right except for the commands he makes to fortify the north at the end.
Well, and the last here,
which is a wild command.
So what's he say? He says two different people bring 200 archers to the neck, which is like the castle that's along the road, the furthest south one, the one that you go through first. Then he tells White Harbor, which they've only mentioned once before, but we know it's the biggest port city in the north, to fortify their defenses. So he's basically fortifying the entrances.
Isn't it just wild? He's talking about war?
Well, because, the Lannisters
He's talking about
seem
defense.
to be... What's up?
He's talking about defense. Like, I don't think he's about to march to war. He's
defending
just
preparing
yeah,
for it.
I think
because
Tyrion
gets underway.
Tyrion is up north right now. He starts working his way back down and sees like all the north people are bolstering up their defenses for what? It's peacetime.
And it's weird that like they haven't, while they think Tyrion's like the mastermind behind this, they haven't like made any commands to like, oh, he's up north. If he comes through Winterfell, grab him. Or like if he comes to here, I feel like you'd be sending ravens if you see this guy, grab him.
I don't think anybody thinks it's him though.
What do you mean? I think they all think it's him.
Yeah.
It was his dagger. At least he was involved.
I'm not. Yes and no. I'm not feeling that. I know what you're saying with maybe he gave his dagger to somebody, but I don't think that they think it's him.
That was definitely the consensus at the end of the last Cat chapter, and this is the next chapter that's involved.
And then Ned even says, "Why would the imp do this?" And it's like, all right, he didn't work alone.
Yeah, he didn't work alone.
I think it's the Lannisters in general.
Yeah, I think that's what they're contributing it to, but you have one of them in your territory. You would think that there would be like this guy knows shit. But yeah, it seems like I don't think Ned's getting ready to go to war. He's getting ready to react to war, because at the end, like the last thing they say is like,
well, yeah, he's holding the lines.
Yeah, when you find out, right? If I find proof the Lannisters murdered Jon Arryn, he felt Catelyn tremble in his arms. Her scarred hands clung to him. If, she said, what then, my love? That was the most dangerous part, Ned knew. All justice flows from the king, he told her. When I know the truth, I must go to Robert and pray he is the man I think he is. He finished silently, and not the man I fear he has become.
Yeah, I think that line's probably the most important. The whole chapter, pretty much. Like, this isn't the same dude I thought I knew once.
Yeah, so he's like the most dangerous part isn't even going to be like the snooping around trying to figure out what actually happened. The most dangerous part is if it turns out to be true.
How's Robert going to react?
There's no way to like get justice to be. There's potentially no way to get justice to be done depending on Robert. Yeah. So
Robert's a little bitch boy now.
And then,
and he's
next chapter.
And he's like, Cat, get the fuck out of here. Next chapter, Tyrion,
yeah. It's good play of back and forth there, I think.
So yeah. So what are you predictions, Kyle? We the stage is kind of set for King's Landing right now, right? Like they kind of set up, I think, like the main, if not one of the main plot lines for the rest of the book here, right? What's going on in the whole King's Landing plot line. We have a lot of the characters in King's Landing, most of this book. Giving some predictions for Ned and Kat.
Well, I think they're gonna get a little too deep in this where they shouldn't be, and it's gonna so I know Ned dies, but I think this might be one of the main reasons. Yeah, I know. We went through
Since
this.
when?
Spoiler alert. But I think this might be the catalyst at the very least, is him poking around where he shouldn't be.
Yeah. Okay, so what
We'll
about
see.
so Kat's going back north? Just take care of Bran.
Does she make it? Yeah, I think she will.
No, I'm saying
Think
that
she'll be
what
alright.
like the rest of her plotline for this book is go back and take care of Bran, who just woke up.
I mean, I'm sure she's gonna do other stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
Nah, she just becomes a mom.
yeah, I don't know.
Stay
I think,
mom.
didn't
That's
she have
the
to
dream.
go back to being like kind of the queen up there?
all right, and
Is that her?
yeah, I mean that's basically what he said is like you have to stay here and raise Robb and Bran and teach them to be good lords. All right, what about Littlefinger Varys? Just because Littlefinger says I have Varys wrapped around my finger, but you don't think that's true?
He hasn't bought the balls, but he doesn't have
Doesn't have any
balls.
balls.
That was my big line, because remember we had that talk that he did have balls?
Oh, he had balls, no wiener.
Balls, no wiener. Now we know he doesn't
said
have
that?
balls.
No, he doesn't have either.
We, like, 5 podcasts ago when we were...
Who said that?
We had a
though?
huge conversation.
We, like,
about it.
Googled it. We Googled what being a eunuch meant, and it meant we found that it
balls.
had
No penis.
no penis,
balls.
right?
I don't remember.
No balls.
No
Go
balls.
back
in
and
my-
listen
I
to our
forgot.
old cat chapter
so,
if you want to find
so
out.
maybe he has a penis.
Eunuch is castrated.
Yeah, and castrated means either
Balls.
or both.
Okay, so he might still have a wiener. Jury's not.
Or all
Jury's still
three.
out.
What would he have
Huh.
if he doesn't have a wiener? Just
I
a
don't
thought
think
he
he
just
has
had
a
a
wiener.
sack. I thought it was just a hole
just the
in
end of a
sack.
tube.
Yeah.
I don't think he has anything there.
End of a tube. What do you mean? Like, where does he pee?
You
Ew.
just can't aim very well.
Yeah.
Why do you think he's always perfumed, man? He's got a bag on him.
He's definitely got to sit down to pee every time.
Nelson,
All
you
right.
sit to pee anyway.
Sometimes I'm sleepy. And all right, that's the end of the chapter. We'll see you guys next time with Tyrion. Should we get
No, we'll see
Tyrion?
Kyle next time.
Should we get Tyrion predictions from Kyle?
Yeah. Tyrion's at the wall right now, Kyle. if you
He's
forgot.
gonna be short.
He's gonna be short.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I think maybe he heads south.
Yeah,
get the-
he's
we
not
get a
gonna
little-
chill at the wall the rest of his life.
Yeah, we get a little bit of his journey back
I think he
to
joins
King's
the Black.
Landing. And maybe he notices all these things that Nelson was talking about him probably gonna notice.
So here's the thing. I guess even if he goes through Winterfell, the people at Winterfell don't think he's involved in this at all.
Yeah, not yet. I mean, nobody's like, that's the thing. Yeah,
Didn't they let Rob know they thought he was involved?
Because they didn't find out about the dagger until like
They
Catelyn
came
found out
down
about
there,
the dagger
yeah.
in King's Landing.
found out
so
from
like the guys in
Littlefinger.
Winterfell shouldn't have no shit about the dagger. And they think
They just think it's the Lannisters in
they
general.
probably think it's
They're like,
Jaime because he was the
Jaime.
one who wasn't on the hunt when Bran fell. Tyrion was on the hunt when Bran fell, so he should almost be
Yeah.
free of suspicion from them. Yeah, so he might not have trouble as long as he gets there before Cat. All right, it's a long chapter,
Long one.
long episode.
Sorry.
We got working on cutting these down.
It's your
We're
fault.
still
Take
rolling in.
notes.
Still rolling into the spoiler section. So we're
We
gonna let
had
Kyle
a
go. And
10
we'll
minutes
See you later,
discussion on
Cal.
what kind of necklace that goes where.
and how they changed their rushes
The
around on
rushes
the
I
floor.
like. I'm gonna keep the rushes in. It's
What?
important.
The necklace is way cooler than fucking rushes.
Well, you guys are wrong about the necklace, but you all teamed up against
You're
me. so
wrong
I'm gonna
about the
let that out.
necklace. Seriously,
All right,
Cal.
bye, Kyle.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
All right, Kyle. See you later.
See you
Bye,
later,
Kyle.
Kyle.
Bye, Kyle.
And now on to the spoiler section of Eddard 4 of Game of Thrones. Any hot takes on this episode here, boys?
First big line. I don't plan on melting here anytime soon.
And then he gets
And
his
he
head snipped.
dies.
Bitch, you gonna die.
Yeah.
You gonna die.
I think that the whole having Varys by his balls thing, too, is kind of funny. Because, like, I think, like Kyle said, we know Littlefinger definitely doesn't have Varys by the balls. And the fact that he says, like, I have him by the balls, but he doesn't have balls, kind of is saying, like, I don't actually have him. Like,
Yeah, I
I
don't
think I
actually
have
have
him,
him.
but I don't really. Yeah. That's the other small thing.
Is there anything like tournament wise that we need to talk about that's gonna come up?
So there's the Littlefinger debt thing, right, that I kind of talked about in one of the previous ones, so I'm not going to go into it deep because, again, we don't get too much here. We just get a number. $6 million in debt, mostly to the Lannisters. And the main point I was making last time about them being in debt to the Lannisters is if Littlefinger's plan is to basically bankrupt the crown to force other debtors to call in their loans, right? He wants the crown to default so that the Iron Bank, Lannisters, Tyrells, whoever is owed money, starts running low because they've given away so much, and they need to call in their debts. And the Iron Bank, the throne will be like, no, and then they'll have to call in from other houses. When those other houses now need to pay debts, Littlefinger's personal money can be used to now he becomes. That's like
The
that's
loner.
Like, that's exactly that's his foothold into being a loner, and now he has a he can request favors from the people who are indebted to him. So if that's his plan, we realize that he cannot have the Lannisters completely die out, especially if they're the largest institution, money wise, right? If that's where most of the crown's money is. If they die, all that debt just goes away, and the crown loses more than half their debt, right? The other thing that becomes huge later on, and they just again, it's crazy how George R. R. Martin has.
So you're saying Littlefinger wants to build debt up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that later, and this is what happens: is later the Iron Bank says, "Hey, give me your money," and Cersei's like, "We don't got it. Come back next year." The Iron Bank calls in, tells Randall Tarley, "You owe me money. Give me fucking money." It tells the Vale Lords, "You owe me fucking money. Give me the money. I need it now." And they're like, "We don't have it." Littlefinger's like, "Hey, I'll give you the money to pay them back, but then you're gonna have to pay me back, or you're gonna have to give me a ward, so we can get favors by helping these people pay off their debts once the crown's in enough debt."
Yeah.
And we
Makes
find
sense.
out later, and again, and Kyle, like Kyle said, they definitely want you to think at this point they're in debt because of Robert. But we find out slowly, like, yeah, Robert didn't have the greatest spending habits, but Littlefinger didn't help. He pays like 40 prison guards when there's no prisoners, right?
Yeah.
None of them have literally never even been to work, and he still pays them full salaries.
I mean, who is he actually paying people, or is he just taking that money?
Ooh,
It
that's a
doesn't.
good
It doesn't
point.
matter if he's taking it, even better, right? If he just
Right.
made up those people, because now not only is the crown in debt, but they're in debt, and he made money that he can now, you know what I mean, like pay off those, because he needs, like, the other part of his plan is the crown needs to be in debt, and I need to have a fuck ton of money so I can buy people out.
Yeah.
He gets a fuck ton of money from, and I didn't want to say it because I don't think we know yet, but Littlefinger owns most of the brothels in King's Landing.
Yep.
And like Glow was saying, when you have the Olympics, it's good for the city, but it's not good for the crown. This is the exact same thing. By paying goalers and not actually, like, paying jailers and not actually paying them and pocketing that, bad for the crown, good for Littlefinger. By holding this huge tournament, bad for the crown, Littlefinger's going to be making money.
Yeah.
And they say
That's
it in
true.
the
Yeah, he's
show.
gonna be making a shit ton.
One of them, somebody says it in the show to Littlefinger. He's like, "I'm sure the tournament puts puts coin in many a pocket." And they say that to Littlefinger, basically saying, like, "I know that you're profiting off this."
Yeah.
So yeah, just point out that again, this is the first real drop of Littlefinger's debt scheme.
I
which is
mean,
starting
if
here.
you're really the master of coin, then like, why isn't Robert like putting up brothels and bars and shit? Like, they should have their own down there.
Exactly. If Littlefinger's doing this shit to make himself rich, and you think he actually has the best interest for the crown, he would be doing the exact same thing he does for himself for the
Yeah.
crown.
For the crown.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I
And-
mean, the
and with
crown
Littlefinger-
shouldn't be that stupid either. I mean, I guess like the Targaryens had a lot of money like before, like, so they weren't really worried about it. But like Robert's like, oh shit, we don't have any money. How do we make money? Oh, that makes a lot of money. It's just kind of common sense to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And Tyrion is like starts asking himself all these questions when he becomes Master of Coin, and he gets
Yeah.
all Littlefinger's books. He realizes Littlefinger intentionally made the books really hard to understand,
Yeah.
so that like nobody can track it.
I mean, even like Cersei. All right, Cersei thinks she's so smart. Like, why not? Like, oh, we need money. Well, guess what? This is how we made all of our money on the Rock. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they just kind
They
of
just
found it,
mined
right?
it. Yeah, they had a big gold mine.
But like, okay, you think you're so smart? Like, do something. Do something.
Yeah, figure it out. Figure out
Yeah,
how to make money.
Stop fucking your brother and make a fucking bar.
And the thing is, nobody's asking
Become a
questions.
whore and make some money for once.
Yeah.
Nobody's asking questions to Littlefinger. Like, I doubt Robert or Cersei ever came to Littlefinger and was like, "Hey, can you show me the books? I'm trying to figure out why we're so in debt." Nobody does that, which is
Yeah.
why he's been able to get away with this shit.
Yeah, I mean, Robert just doesn't care.
The Littlefinger, real quick, the Renly gay thing. I wasn't just saying he's not gay in the books to like try and throw Kyle off. It's like people have asked
We really don't know.
George. People have asked George at like interviews and stuff, and he's like, and Renly's dead now, so we'll never know. And I almost said that a couple times, right? I was gonna say like we'll never know, but that would kind of give something away. But yeah, basically like people have asked George like, why didn't you make if you wanted like gayness to be an accepted thing, or like to show that there's people of power that are gay, why didn't you make it more obvious that he was gay? And he's like, I didn't want it to be obvious. I wanted it to be like left up, like he was kind of saying like the point of it isn't that like people in power can be gay. It's like the thing is like it doesn't matter if they're gay or not, right? It doesn't matter if Renly's gay or not. What he does is what he does. His sexual orientation shouldn't matter. That's kind of George's stance. So like it's not like it's definitely not as big of a thing as it is in the books. What else? Tournament thing, I guess just like some of the politics. Oh, the one thing, Stannis going to Dragonstone.
Yeah, huge red flag.
Yeah, right.
What the hell is he doing out there?
It's
Why'd he leave all of a sudden?
And it's weird because Ned definitely would ask that, but I guess they like can't. If you write Ned asking that, then you're giving away too much early, right? That Stannis is suspicious of something. So what do you guys think? Why did Stannis leave here?
Well, like we don't even know much about him. Like, is he like into the Red Woman shit right now and like all that garbage?
I have no idea.
So I don't think it has anything. I don't think that it has anything to do with that. I think it has to do with Stannis knows about Jon Arryn.
Stannis,
how
does he know about Jon Arryn?
That
I think he just knows about
Joffrey
being illegitimate.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. He knows about Joffrey. He knows about the incest.
Yeah, but why would he run away though?
I feel like that's something he would
because he knows
shit
is about to go down, and I don't know, maybe because he knows shit's about to go down. He doesn't want to be where Ned is when Ned gets his head
goes
snapped.
down.
But he's like Ned's friend. Like they've.
Yeah, they're not.
Not really, but
enemies.
I mean, again,
they respect each other.
Yeah, I mean,
they
I guess
respect each other.
nobody's his friend, but like if he really wanted to like do something about the incest, he would have. He should be able to say something and like not be worried about it.
I think he's like a big part. Like as Ned continues on in his like path of like trying to figure out what actually happened to Jon Arryn, like Littlefinger helps him and points him on the direction of the brothel, right? And I think we find out that Jon Arryn had already gone, or not the brothel, points him to Gendry. And we find out that Jon Arryn had already gone to Gendry, and Stannis knew about Robert's bastards and what they all look like. So Stannis was like, I don't know. I feel like Stannis was kind of part of the investigation that Jon Arryn was doing. Maybe not super close, but he was
involved
at somewhat. So when Jon Arryn dies, all of a sudden and Stannis isn't stupid enough to be like, oh fuck, why did Jon Arryn die? Probably because of the shit he just found out that I also know about. I don't want to be here if people who know this shit are dying. Right? It might have been for personal safety. Might be because he thinks some shit's coming. Also, I think again later, I think a lot of this revolves around Robert Arryn getting fostered somewhere, right? That they were going to foster him with Tywin. Jon Arryn wants to foster him with Stannis at Dragonstone. Like we'll find that out later. So I think that's the other part. Like he's at Dragons, and I don't think that Stannis goes to Dragonstone expecting that, but that just kind of points at Jon Arryn and Stannis are on the same page again. What else? Anything else?
I mean, I have a couple small notes. Like a frozen hell. He thinks a frozen hell for all the Starks.
Yeah.
Do you think that, is that foreshadowing for them all fighting through winter, basically? Except for, Rob?
I was thinking it might be kind of like the crypts, right? Because the crypts are literally, they're not hell, but it's where you go when you die, and it's fucking frozen down there.
Is it cold down there?
And there's...
it's like
they got all the springs. Oh, yeah, it is cold there.
So the only reason I say that is because I've heard a theory somewhere, I don't even know where it was, but that, you know how like when the old god thing is like when you die you go into the weirwood and then you're like part of that like that's like your afterlife as you experience like the weirwood, you're in the weirwood network or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's why people did like human sacrifices in front of weirwood, because like the weirwood got power from the blood, but also when you die your spirit goes up in there, kind of like how the children of the forest go into the weirwood and that kind of stuff. People think that the iron swords on the Stark grave is preventing that from happening, right? When it says it keeps their spirit safe, it actually just keeps them from going to the weirwood. So you don't really have it's like preventing afterlife, which I don't know. Maybe the Starks believe that's the best peace, right? We don't want to live forever. We want to have a finite end and be at rest or whatever. Okay. So maybe that's their frozen hell. Their frozen hell is the fact that they get trapped, their spirits get trapped down there in those tombs, and they don't get to be in the weirwood like everything else. I don't know. That's what I thought of when I read that, because I've heard that theory somewhere before. I don't know if I like that theory. I like the whole weirwood concept, and it would be interesting if the Starks were at odds with that. And I definitely think that the iron swords on the tombs mean something. I just don't know what.
Do you really though? I mean, they had swords. That's what they.
Yeah, but it's weird how like they mentioned that some of the oldest ones have rusted away, and also when Brandon and Rickon are hiding there and then leave, they take the 2 from Brandon and Rickard's tombs. So like the only tombs that are down there that don't have swords are Brandon and Rickard's. I don't know. I think it's
I
weird.
guess I didn't even know that.
Like if Bran later somehow goes into the Weirwood, or somebody goes into the Weirwood net, and we find out that Brandon and Rickard are the only 2 Starks here. It's like holy fuck, that's how you would find that out, right? That's how you would verify this theory.
True.
I don't know. Just it seems it's like the Chekhov gun, right? I don't know if I've said this before, but the literary thing, Chekhov's gun. If you write in a book and you walk into a room and the thing says the living room was nicely furnished with a gun hanging on the wall above the mantle. If you describe a room like that and then the rest of the story that gun's never brought up again, it's bad writing. You shouldn't put stuff in that isn't needed, right?
Yeah.
Obviously that isn't a George R. R. Martin thing because there's a ton of shit in these books that I'm sure is just in there to be in there for world building. But the fact that they go into the point of these swords, and it's like to keep the Starks at rest in their tombs, and then also you take away swords from select characters who are like not huge, but like known in the actual Stark family. Like out of the Starks we know down there, the only 2 that get their swords removed are like the 2 were probably have the most influence.
All right, so tell me what would be the point of them being in the Weirwood Forest? Are they working with like Bran?
Well, the
then?
Weirwood net is
the...
just like it's like
Right.
their eternal
Yeah, like,
afterlife.
I don't.
So the eternal afterlife of the Weirwood net is like it shows up actually a few places in Game of Thrones. The other major one that's like super obvious is the Undying of Karth. There are things like when you're undying because when your body dies, you just kind of go into that like weird collective of like the blue glowing orb thing that Dany sees and when she's in the
Okay.
house, right? So and George R. R. Martin has written other things about like a collective consciousness, kind of like hive mind, right? Like everybody thinks the same thoughts, everybody has the same feelings. When you get absorbed into that hive mind, your history, your experiences go into that. Everybody who's already in there gets all your experiences, but you also get all theirs, and you can see through the Weirwood trees for the rest of eternity, right? That's like the Weirwood net. That's kind of like the belief of the children of the forest, and then so it seems like a pretty good afterlife, right? Like you literally just
you're
become like a part of a greater whole. And maybe the Starks don't want to do that. Or the other thing that the reason people I just remembered the reason people like this theory is some Starks have telepathic powers or warg powers, whatever you want to call it, the Bran and the Wolf thing, right?
Okay.
Some Starks have that. Say somebody who has that ability goes into the Weirwood net. Does
Right,
everybody
that's
in the
what I'm saying, like,
Weirwood now have that ability?
Nah.
That's what people think. And that's why the Starks knew that. And they're like, we have this power that we don't want to give to this collective of Children of the Forest. Right? Back in the day, Children of the Forest and the Starks, the first men, were not friends. And if you realize that, oh, fuck, when we die, they get our power because we're getting absorbed into their like afterlife thing. We don't want to give that to them. We need a way to bury ourselves so that they don't, you know what I mean? I think that was part
that
of
would
the
make
premise.
more sense to me.
That was part of the premise. There was a reason.
I was thinking, would they have let those guys out so they help Bran as like the three-eyed raven later on?
Well, that's the thing. That's why the three-eyed raven can see all of history. It's not because he can actually see all of history. Just every single person
He's got
that's
everybody's
died,
point of view.
he knows their memories. Yeah, and he can see what's currently happening through the trees, forward and back, because trees. They describe that the trees' life cycle isn't time like normal. Like time is
Experience
different.
it all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once. Yeah. So the fact that the three-eyed raven is in the he's like the only living person who's connected to the Weirwood net and alive and can actually influence things. So if you get Bran absorbed into that, then the three-eyed raven gets Bran's power, right? Potentially. We don't know how it works, but potentially. Because we don't understand like what the three-eyed raven wants from Bran, right? Like the one thing that I've posed is they want somebody who has the same powers as Bran so that the three-eyed raven could warg into him, right? And take his power.
Yeah.
Maybe all he really cares about is get Bran out of Winterfell so that if he dies, he doesn't get buried that way. Right? Like, obviously, he wants Bran to come to him so he can, like, train him and get him more powerful so that when he dies, he gets that. Or whatever. Right? That's again, I don't know if I believe that. That's just the theory. That's just I think it's one of the best theories that explains why the Starks have that burial custom. And I think it would be, I hope that there's something interesting that comes out of that later.
I think iron just keeps whites from turning.
And again, maybe, that could be a way simpler, but just as
I just maybe heard that before and just said it.
I mean, yeah, I mean that could be, it's way simpler, but could be just as like likely, if not more likely than the crazy thing I just said. I'm just pointing it out. I think there's something weird there. I don't even know how we got on this topic from where we are.
I started talking about a
The
frozen hell.
frozen hell.
Oh, the
Yeah.
frozen hell. Okay, yeah. Whatever. Next, what's up next, Chloe? What do you got next?
Ned, not the first time he worked with someone he despised. All right, everyone has worked with someone they hate, but could this be referring to when he had to work with Arthur Dane or the Lannisters or?
I was thinking the Jaime Lannister thing that I said when I was talking to Kyle.
That makes sense. Okay.
About him walking in and seeing them at the.
How he walks in
Throne,
and he hates the Lannisters, but he had to work with them to win the throne.
How about Ned now liking the signs of the direwolves?
Yeah, I like that
Yes.
too. The wolf stuff was dope. How Ned immediately when he finds out that Summer saved Bran's life, he is like, "Fuck, I shouldn't have killed Lady."
Yeah, why did I fucking do that?
What do you think
What folly did I just do?
If he would have known that, do you think he goes to Robert and be like, "No, like my kids need these. Like, kill somebody else." Like, do you think he sacrifices something else for?
I think he would do kind of what
I think he puts
Arya
up
does.
a much harder fight.
I think he does what Arya does, where Arya like kind of scares Nymeria away. I think Ned would like scare Lady away and then go back to Robert.
Why would you do that? Because Arya does that, and then she's no longer a part of. I mean, I guess
yeah. I get what you're saying. Like, you still don't get the benefit of having the wolf near the kids.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know how Ned talks his way out of that one.
How hard you?
I'm not being your fucking hand. I'm going home.
Yeah,
Start
he
a war.
definitely does say that. I think he would do that. He'd be like, "No, fuck you. Like, these wolves are
Yeah, you might be right.
part of us."
Yeah, you might be right.
Like, imagine if they said, like, "All right, we're gonna kill Arya." He would have been like, "All right, I'm gonna kill you all with the North. Like, call the banners." I mean, I guess he's kind of fucked right then. But
Yeah.
Last small thing. I think I talked about this when us three started first recording. Not with Kyle, but the description "sweet" always seems to be double-edged sword when George R.R. Martin uses it.
So when you say that, the first quote that comes to mind from this one is when talking about the way Varys smells.
Yes, and it reminds him of like a sweet. It's like a funeral. It always has to deal with like death or something.
He says like sweet and sour or something. He's like as sweet and sour as flowers on a grave or something, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like he talks about it with Illyrio. He has like a sweet but foul smell at the same time.
Yeah,
and somebody else too that's like conniving and
that's interesting.
has like backward spots.
Keep pointing that out because I didn't pick up on that, but I definitely thought that quote was, I don't know, a good quote. He smelled as foul and sweet as flowers on a grave. I don't know. I liked it. Anything out of the last chapter with the Catelyn? So like Kyle's again. I don't know. Maybe I'm bad at prodding for predictions, but I feel like Kyle's predictions weren't great.
Even when like you asked me to do it for like Dunk and Egg, like it's hard when
like you don't know anything
the first half. So like
because the thing is, when I asked you for the first Dunk and Egg story, you were like, I don't know, Nelson, what the fuck? And then we read the second half and we come back and you were like, all right, I'm sorry I made bad predictions, because like immediately you once you kind of realize like I was being stupid, I was saying stupid stuff. And then then at the end of that one, I remember you were like, for the next book, I'm gonna have awesome predictions. And we got halfway through the next book, and you're like, I don't know, what do you want me to say? And then like, we started the next chapter, and you're like, oh man, I wish I would have made these predictions instead. So I get what you're saying. I've never had to be there, but
yeah, I mean, honestly, we haven't.
When we start reading 6, we got to do predictions for each of us.
Oh my
at
God,
this point where we're at, honestly, what crazy has happened? Bran almost gets killed.
Yeah, but that came out of nowhere.
The
It's not really a prediction.
The Lannisters were banging each other. Like, there hasn't been anything like, oh my God, Dunk's gonna have to fight in a joust for his life type of moments yet.
Yeah, I guess.
We're still just building relationships and.
Well,
like,
this one,
right,
I feel like this one like really builds the tension in King's Landing.
Like, he could have definitely said something more about Robert and Ned. Because they're gonna have the tourney. Like,
yeah, and I'm fine with that prediction, but I wasn't really asking.
He was
about
right
that.
though.
I wasn't really asking about that. I was asking like, how do you think this is gonna affect their relationship?
Yeah.
But like I think the big thing that comes out of this chapter leads to is Cat abducts Tyrion.
Yeah.
Like they don't talk about that here.
No, I mean that would be something really hard to predict.
Yeah, no, and I'm not saying I want to kind of predict that, like, and I get why when
You
I said,
were
like,
alluding him to it though, like
When
yeah,
I
she's
said,
going
like, what
back
do you-
up north and he's coming back down south.
well, the
do
thing
you
about
think people are
Catelyn,
gonna-
the reason that is going to be surprising is because Catelyn got here by sea. You would expect her to return by sea, and when you are on a boat, you're not going to cross paths with somebody else. Like, even if you see another boat, there's no way she would know Tyrion's on that, right?
Right.
True.
Even if Tyrion was on another boat,
Unless it was like flying Lannister colors.
Lannisters or whatever, yeah. And what I said was true about when Tyrion goes to Winterfell. They don't know that there's any suspicion of him, right? Because they didn't send a letter from here to Winterfell. And the other thing was, like, this chapter period, like, last time after the cat chapter, I was prodding Kyle for predictions, like, what is going to happen when Ned shows up. But I didn't want to, like, remind him that, oh, Cat and Ned are going to see each other. Like, maybe he thinks Cat leaves before Ned gets there. But, like, he didn't make any predictions about that. I don't know. I think not horrible predictions, but nothing crazy, right? Like what Glow said.
It's hard to be in depth.
Yeah. Next chapter, Tyrion. So Tyrion, what? He's basically chilling at the wall most of this chapter, right? He's like hanging out with Jon up top, and then decides to go with Yoren.
Oh, they're still hanging out?
Well,
Is
this
when
chapter
is
is
this when he
one
pisses
where
off the wall?
Don't they have a talk at the top of the wall, or was that at the end of the? Yeah, they do.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's got to be this one then. I thought that already.
it's this one because
It's
he's
this one coming.
like
yeah.
taking one last look before he leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is all him at the wall. Yep. It's not a super long chapter. 10 pages. They're getting longer
And-
as we go. But I think that's all we got.
Alrighty.
Again, I feel like we're missing some stuff, but whatever. If you think we missed anything, write in, DM us, and we will talk about it on our next one. Thanks everybody for listening, and if you listen to us on iTunes, leave a review, comment, however that system works, helps us out. Thanks, guys.
Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all of you.
Bye.
The Christmas is dark and full of terrors.